Welcome to another episode of FemFlex Friday. I'm Whitney Jones here with my co-host Alina Popa. And in our industry, we have so many amazing couples. We have one very special power couple that's here with us today. And let's be honest, there's so many different roles in our sport as an athlete, as a promoter, as a coach. Well, these two are doing it all, and they are here to share their story. We have IFBB figure pro Bojana, as well as her boyfriend Chris Mines, who is here and plays all sorts of roles in realms to supporting, to being a promoter. You do coaching as well. And we kind of want to know, how the heck do you guys do this?
I know, there's so much going on, like starting with our connection from Eastern Europe, right? We are neighbors.
Romania and Serbia.
Yes, our accents are a little bit similar, right?
I hear that at makeup room.
Yeah. Oh, yeah?
And Alina have same accent.
Yeah, we almost have the same accent, but I'm really curious, like what's your story? How did you get here? It's always for us, you know, like when we are foreigners and we are immigrants, it's like, how did you get here? And when did you get here?
Yes, right? Well, I get here back in 2011.
Okay.
And I moved because I had my pro card and I want to start competing as a pro here.
Okay, we share that. Same year, same reason.
Same
Oh, that was it.
year.
Wow. Okay.
I moved on February 11th. What is
Okay,
your
I
date?
moved in October 11th. You're a little bit ahead of me.
A little bit earlier. Yeah, so as you know, that time it was very few pro shows in Europe.
Oh, yes.
And if you want to be a serious pro and compete a lot, you better live in United States. That was the only way. It was a hard decision, but I made it. And
Did you move here by yourself? You're just like,
Yes.
I'm going? Really?
Yes, by
Wow.
myself.
Okay. It's pretty
And
good.
I choose the place that is not really easy for people who came from outside. It was Los Angeles.
Oh, wow.
Because I want to work out at Gold Gym Venice.
Yeah.
So it was tough.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that it's going to be that hard. I knew that it's going to be hard, but first few years was really tough.
Did you have like a support system when you came here? Did you have like a gym or somebody that you knew?
Well, I moved here, and the first couple of months I live with the wife from my friend. He's a pro bodybuilder, Dragan Paunovic. That time he was in Serbia. His wife with 4 kids live in North Hollywood.
Oh, wow.
So I was a babysitter for 4 months.
Oh, there you go. At least you had a
Yes.
job and a place to stay.
Exactly. So, and then after 4 months, I got my first job at the gym, North Hollywood, the Gold's Gym.
Okay.
I started working there, but my goal was Gold Gym Venice. And I made that move, I think in 2013, 2013,
So
14, something
after all
like
this time, does it still have the same glamour to you?
Well, I was a little bit disappointed when
I was too when I first stepped in there.
Really? No way.
right? I was a little bit disappointed actually with LA.
Okay.
Just with LA, not the gym. The gym was like, Gold Gym North Hollywood is a little bit smaller gym than Gold Gym Venice. So moving to Venice, it was step up. It was like, oh, okay, I came from this here. But I was disappointed with LA when I saw, let's say, Beverly Hills.
Sure. But why was that? Just because it's so glamorized from being in another country? Really?
Exactly.
Okay.
Just
Interesting.
walking on the Hollywood Boulevard, I was kind of looking at those stars.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of looking, is that what I saw in pictures and
Really?
movies? And it was kind of like, well, it's so simple. It sounds glamorous.
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah, it's not glamorous because
Yes.
then you create it with your imagination when you're home and you're walking down. First of all, you ask, where is my star? And second, it's so simple, right?
I like that.
Yes.
I want to jump in because she kind of skipped over the struggle. You know, she came here by herself alone with no money, no sponsor, just a dream. And she lived in a one room with no bed.
Yes.
She slept on the floor
Yes.
wow.
First
for
time-
years.
Really?
Yeah. First time when I slept on real floor was in 2014, I think, or 13. When I moved from that place that I was renting in North Hollywood, it was empty apartment. I choose empty studio over renting the room with furniture because that studio was clean but empty. And I felt like better than sleeping in somebody's bad. And
Wow.
you know, like the price for one furnished room
Sure.
was the same like for that empty studio. So I kind
Wow.
of choose empty studio because I'm
It's
alone.
Beautiful, yeah.
Yes,
Like,
and
I love the stories.
Yes.
I love the story.
struggle.
Yes, no furniture. It wasn't bad there. So you know, like I basically switched from the empty room to the real room with bed when I met you when we started living together.
And when she says bed, because I slept in it, it was a mattress on the floor.
Oh,
You know, so
okay.
that was a
Oh,
step
then,
up
yeah.
from the floor. Was
Exactly.
the mattress on the floor?
Yes.
And
Real step
where
up.
did you emigrate from?
Her?
No, you.
Me? I immigrated from Vermont.
Far, far away.
Though my father's from Amsterdam, so I'm not far disconnected.
Oh,
from-
I see,
I think
yeah.
that's why I vibe with Europeans so much.
Yeah.
But yeah.
When did you guys meet? Because that was like, I
Yeah.
love the way she came here and I love the struggle and it's beautiful. But just related to that, I have to say that it's always hard when you come here and you don't have a support system.
gosh.
Because when I came here, I came at Armbrust Pro Gym in Colorado, and immediately I was embraced as a pro athlete, and it was much easier, right, to make it in the United
Yes.
States when you have a support system. But it's very hard when you come with absolutely nothing. So then, when did you come into the picture? Because you guys are a power
Yeah,
couple for quite a
interesting.
Tell
long
it,
time.
there's always fun stories, so you got to share.
What was it? 2011. What year was it? 2014.
2014.
14.
At the Gold Gym Venice.
At Gold's Gym Venice is
Okay.
where we met. And I had, what was it, third year of the Tahoe show. We had Pro Figure. And she actually was at the Tahoe show the year before, and we never met.
2013. I competed at his show, and I hate it.
You hated his show or competing?
I didn't hate his show. I hated how I placed.
Okay. I was like, okay, there's more to that.
Fill it in.
Oh.
He needs to be a better promoter.
I hated how I placed. I was in that last call out, and I never been in last call out before.
Sure.
And it feels horrible, and I want to cry literally on stage. I never cry. I even don't cry in real life that much. But on stage that day, I was feeling so horrible. I didn't know people. I was there alone, and I remember that they call us for the interview with Chris. It's gonna be kind of live backstage interview, right? And they call all girls, and I was just kind of like, I'm not going. And I didn't. You can see everybody else on
Except
that,
you.
except me. I was sitting
You were
in
interviewing
backstage.
everybody, every
Yeah, I had
competitor.
I had all the whole figure division with
Okay.
me backstage.
that's
we would
awesome.
cut to like backstage live and be up on the screens and in the live stream. It was 2013. We were live streaming all the way back
Wow.
then. I guess she was.
No,
she
I
in the mood.
was. I wasn't there. I couldn't wait to show be over, and I was like, I just want to cry. I feel I want to cry, but I cannot cry because I have the makeup and everything. So I have to wait that everything be over to run to my room and just let it go.
Yes.
Right? And when everything was over, I literally ran to my room, turned the shower on, and I want to cry, kind of like, okay, so nice, now is the time,
Right.
cry. And I'm kind of like, I can't.
Too tired to cry.
I can't. I just start planning next show. Like I need to do next show as my therapy, you know, like
Sure,
to
yeah.
fix this. And I did. Like
I love that idea.
Yeah.
Next show is my therapy.
Oh
Yes.
yes.
Yep.
This is how I learned actually to immediately delete everything negative.
Sure.
If I experience in some show and just focus on the next
By
step.
setting a
Right.
new goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. This
Yep.
is why I probably
Learn
did
your lesson.
60 pro
Fix
shows.
things.
So then you
It's
met
therapy.
him the year after in 2014, right? At the same show that you hated the year before.
Well, at Gold's several months before.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the reason was, her coach saw me, Eric DeLauro at the time, and was like, oh, that's the guy who's promoting your show. You should go talk to him.
He asked me, do you know who is that? And I was like, no. It's like, you competed at his show. Like, so what?
Yeah.
I was really like, so what? What show? I did many shows in that first year, like I think maybe 10.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
you compete
I
quite a
actually-
lot through the year.
Wow.
You have
Yeah.
at least 4 or 5
I-
shows a year.
Yes, I'm now on show 58, I think.
Oh, wow.
That's a pro.
Wow.
That's
As a
pro.
impressive.
58
That's
pro
impressive.
shows?
Yes.
Oh my
How
God.
many total shows?
That's a lot.
As I said, it's therapy.
How many?
Yeah.
Tell her how many total shows.
Okay, so I did 70 amateur shows.
Wait, 70
7-0?
amateur?
Yes, because I didn't know that time that I can turn pro or that is next level from amateur, you know?
Wow.
Oh yeah, in Europe.
In Europe,
in
right?
the other federation.
So
yeah.
what year did you start competing in general?
I started in 2006 in fitness.
What? Oh, did you? I
Yes,
didn't know that.
I did.
Oh, wow. Come on, we need to do some stuff together.
He's always keep pushing in that direction. Like, you have to go back to fitness.
I know. I feel a guest performance
I
coming on.
think so.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
If you want to get on a center podium stage, it's probably the only way.
There you go. Yes. Guest performer. I know a promoter. I'll put in a good word for you.
Okay.
So that's insane. 70 amateur
70
shows.
Yes,
That's
because,
impressive.
Wow.
I'm competing in fitness, and then I start crossing over in figure, and it was fun. At one show, I do fitness and figure, and I almost won every show, so that was fun.
Because you're doing Europeans, you're doing
Exactly.
world champions,
Wow.
and then you win them, but you keep on doing them because you don't know that you can turn pro.
Exactly.
Wow.
And I didn't know that I can turn pro. And like in Europe, you probably experience that if you're at the top level, they pay for everything.
Yes.
For traveling.
Wow,
For
okay.
In the
everything.
countries where the sport is under the government, they pay for you. Yeah.
Yes.
Which is a huge shift then, because you leave winning everything, having everything paid for, and now you move
Exactly.
to a completely different country, no money,
No money.
support.
Exactly.
Wow.
You have
But that's your dream,
Yeah, that's your
So how
passion.
was 2014 then in Chris's show?
Well,
turnout.
okay, so my coach said okay, you should go and say hi because you're going to compete again in Tahoe show. And I was like, I'm not sure if I'm going to compete, first of all. He's like, no, you're going to compete. That's a good show. You should compete. And then he said, you should be a little bit more social, not that awkward. Just say hi to people and be nice. And you know how Eastern Europeans have that reputation that we are just
Oh, girl, I know everything about it. Don't even start.
right? Okay. And at one moment, Chris disappeared from the gym, and I was like, oh, thank God. I don't have to say hi. I don't have to say anything.
You
And
got
then
out of it.
We was exiting the gym, and he was there doing some tricep exercise
I
or
think I was
something.
doing lats.
Oh, okay. but-
Oh my God, you remember what you were doing?
He's like, I know
You
the
cannot
moment.
mistake the muscle.
Right.
Yeah, it was not tricep, it was lats.
definitely
Okay,
do.
get it right.
Well, that was a moment when I was like, now I have to say hi. I have to be nice. And I don't want. I just want to go home. So Eric stopped and talked with him and introduced me. And this is how everything started. I did.
And you're like, oh, actually, he's not that annoying.
Yeah. It's not annoying. Yeah.
According to our first picture together that day, it was some body language that says
Really?
more than words. Yes.
Oh,
I was next to him completely, and my coach was on, and I know my coach for years. I should be more comfortable being next to my coach, right? No, I was completely next to Chris.
He's
Wow.
like,
Ooh.
And
that's pretty cute.
it was interesting to see that picture, right? And I competed right after that, the month after we met at the Wings of Strength show, Chicago Pro, and he wished me luck the day before the show, which was kind of weird.
Had you guys not been on a date or anything yet?
No, I just
No,
slid
no,
into
no.
the
Okay.
DMs because I still lived up in Tahoe at the time.
Yes.
And I was visiting. I used to live in Venice, and then I would still visit all the
Yes.
time to say hi to
Gotcha.
my friends, and that's when she.
So he messaged me the day before the show, I just want to wish you good luck. And it was a good luck, actually. I placed top 3 first time in my
Oh,
life.
wow.
Yes.
So you have a good luck charm. Hey.
Yeah.
Yes.
So now it's
Exactly.
been 8 years, right, that you guys have been
Almost.
together. And then
Yeah.
you've competed in so many shows, and in the meantime, you expanded as a promoter so much. And
Yes.
all this time, your careers and your lives have been intertwined, right?
Yeah, I mean, I competed at his Tahoe show in 2014 and again in 2015, but that show is not good luck for me, actually. I placed at Chicago Pro top 3, then I did muscle contest play top 3, and I'm coming to the Tahoe show with good placing
No, wait.
from big shows.
She needed 3 points to go to the Olympia.
Yes.
remember
I
this.
didn't really want her to do the Tahoe show because of the conflict of interest.
Yeah.
And I actually put it out on social. I was like, I don't want to do this, but you guys okay with this? And they're like, yeah, go for it.
Yes, and
And
I
so-
get approval from my coach that year. My coach was Kimoto. And he was like, okay, it's not the ideal situation to compete at Chris show, but I understand this is the last show before the
Yeah, you
Olympiad.
need the points.
Compete.
It was like
Yes.
mandatory if you wanted to.
And I think I placed so bad
Well,
again.
because it makes sense. You went there with doubt, right?
Yeah.
Both of you were not full-heartedly. You got this. It's like, oh, how is it
Yes.
gonna look like? But
Yes.
I have no other solution. But
Yes.
I want to know more about the shows that followed after this short commercial break.
People always ask how I got here. I was willing to work just a little harder than everyone else. Every damn day. If I can have hundreds of hours back, you know I'm gonna grab them. Spending hours prepping chicken, rice, and vegetables, F that. I rely on perfect nutrition. I rely on trifecta.
And we're back in the studio with Bojana and Chris, and we were left around 2014, right? You guys met and everything, and we want to know, how did you continue your career as a pro, right? Because you have quite a prolific career. You compete a lot, as we were just talking before.
Yes.
You said how many pro shows?
58.
58 pro shows. That
impressive.
like gets you to around 6, 7 a year, right?
year,
How many Olympias and how many Arnolds did you do?
So I qualified for the Olympiad 7 times.
Okay.
In the Arnolds, if you count Arnold US and Arnold Australia, and plus 2 amateur Arnolds I did in Spain and in US, that's 10 Arnolds.
Wow. Out of which 8 pros.
Yes, 8 pros and 2.
That's impressive because you are very young. You're still young and you did so many shows. But now we want to, let's play a little bit and get Chris in, right? Because then you started into your life, right? And then at that point, is that a point when you actually stepped in and helped him as a promoter? Because that's what we want to do. How did you do it as an athlete, a successful pro athlete? And then if she helped you in any way with that?
Yeah, I think that year when we started, we moved in together after dating for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Really? Wow.
Well, because you were sleeping on the ground, you're like, I'll go anywhere.
Kind of-
Well, that's actually happened. I went to compete at Tahoe, and then I stayed there. I never went to go back home because, like, he have bed.
Wow.
He have real bed.
Amazing. He's rich.
Some girls aim high. She just wanted the match.
She just needed a mattress that wasn't on the ground.
So
I'm
this
not
is an
going home.
investment. Like,
Ship my stuff.
Actually,
Wow.
he packed his stuff and moved to LA.
Okay.
But not at my place. We went to a different place.
And he got the mattress with him.
Yes.
Went to LA.
Actually, yes, he did.
I was planning on moving to LA anyway, and we were like, well, let's just move in together.
Wow, that's
And we
amazing,
did, yeah.
though.
Moved to Marina Del Rey, 2 miles from Venice Golds, living the dream. But yeah, definitely the support for each other really took off. That was the year we started the Frignal Legacy.
Yes.
And that we kind of came out of nowhere. You know, there was this like random, I was still competing then, and then all of a sudden I'm producing a show with Lou Frigno.
So you were competing. What were you competing? Bodybuilding?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many years and what level did you stop?
I
If it's
competed.
below 70, we're not going to be impressed.
It is
I'm
below
just gonna-
70.
Me. Wow.
Did the first show
Slacker.
in 2009, and then my last show was the Puerto Rico.
Pro.
Yeah.
Puerto Rico. I stopped. I had a huge back injury that put me in the hospital for about a month. I was going to go to a pro card. I was up to about 260 pounds, and
Wow.
I had this like kind of nagging injury. Did a deadlift, everything broke, almost was paralyzed. Big,
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
And at that point, it was time to just. My symmetry was going to be gone forever. My legs are kind of a different shape. I have numbness in this leg still from that, which is probably surprising. You see me ski and mountain bike and stuff
Yeah,
all the
I had
time. but
no idea.
Fortunately, I do that, and it keeps me.
So where did this back injury happen? Was it in a gym or?
It was, yeah. I think originally it happened when I was working at a ski resort when I was like 20, and that
Okay.
was like the start of it. But then I was doing my warm up of 500 pounds deadlifts.
I was recording everything.
I have, I actually have it on video.
yes.
And I finished the lift. Like I got here, I went numb to my foot, and I was like, well, I'm going to still lock this out, put it down. But I was numb all over. And then within a few days, I was getting numb like from the waist down. Went to a doctor. He's like, oh, if it was that bad, you would have just gone straight to the ER. You're just being a pussy. And
like-
I was like, I guess I'm a pussy. I don't know. And then I went to another doctor, and he's like, oh, no, you need to go right now. And if you want to get to the front of the line at the ER, say your junk is numb, you're going straight to the front.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. There's a tip for any male.
Say your junk is numb. And then within 3 hours, I was under the knife for 7 hours.
Wow.
7-9 hours, I think.
Oh Lord.
It was very long. They told us first that it's going to be like around 3 hours, and I was waiting there, and then they called me after 3 hours, kind of like, oh, it's going to be a little bit longer. They called me like 3 times to prolong
What
the
year
time.
was this again?
That was the end of 2017, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yep. And it was like we started at like 11 p.m. Like it was an emergency surgery. Like you're about to be paralyzed. And I think we finished at like 6 a.m.
Yes.
And and then they sent me home, and they actually sent me back because I had spinal fluid leaking out of the wound. And they had to redo it all over again.
Like how many days after?
I was only home for like 24 hours, and the nurse comes like, there's this pinkish fluid coming out. Didn't really tell me.
Oh, wow.
Nobody really told me how bad it really was. I read it in a magazine article, actually. And I'm like, I was this close. I'm glad you didn't tell me, because I was like, hey, this
and I think
selfie, you know. Like,
the doctor was very calm, and he's Asian, and you think he's smiling all the time.
Yeah.
They have that calm.
Yes.
Their eyes are smiling, you know?
Wow.
So you don't realize how serious is until he wrote the article about you.
Yeah.
Doctor.
Yeah.
Oh, he actually wrote the article.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so you knew it's you.
Yeah, he was.
And that was
Yes.
your
Oh yeah, no, they did a
fluid.
photo shoot with me and stuff in the gym afterwards because of how successful it was.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good.
And then I read the article. We were worried he would never be back to normal. We were worried he'd never walk again. Like all this.
I did not know these
Yeah, I'm like, oh,
things.
Yes.
you're not telling me. Yeah.
It was in the
Wow.
hospital for a month, probably.
And she
total.
was there every night.
Every night I was sleeping on the chair because it was just chair next to his bed. And I remember the nurse kind of like, oh, I'm so sorry, we don't have bed, it's a chair. I was, don't worry, I slept on
You're
the
like, I'm
floor.
good.
I'm good.
course, yeah.
Chair is
I
fine.
got
Still a
practice.
step above.
But you obviously got out of it, and you
Yeah.
train right now. You're in great shape. You couldn't go back to the competitive days, but
Right, and it was not bad timing because my shows were growing at that point. Maybe I think I had 4 shows then. Yeah, I'd added the Motherload and the West Coast Classic. The following year, I would add the Dexter and
so you started promoting at the same time as you were a competitor.
Yeah. I started.
Okay.
My first show was 2011.
What drove you to that? Why did you want to be a promoter?
Oh, really? I had a just bad experience after bad experience as an athlete.
Okay.
I have a degree in business. I used to produce events for ski resorts with multi-million-dollar budgets.
Okay.
And you put on a little event, you guys know, you put on a little event or a big event, it's the same process. Whether you put on a seminar or the Legion, it's basically the same process. And I was like, we can do this better. And I had access to a beautiful venue in Tahoe, and was somehow able to pull off getting a sanction, and we put it on, and people loved it, and it just kept growing. And we used the same business model that basically I started in Tahoe in 2011, and now I use it for the Legion. And it's about great production. It's about being competitor athlete focused the whole way, much like the Wings of Strength concept. And I get to refresh that knowledge every time she competes. So I'm like, I get to be the coach backstage, but I'm always looking around and saying, okay, this isn't working, this isn't working, this is working. And every show, my show is evolving based on my own experience, but also the experience I have through her eyes as an athlete.
Yeah. So you kept on supporting her competing, right?
Of course.
She's pretty much you lived vicariously through her since she couldn't compete anymore, right?
I definitely, and I do most of her coaching, and so I never got when my knowledge matured after I stopped competing.
Okay, yeah.
So I never got to kind of do for myself what I know now.
Sure.
And so I was able to apply that to her, and that's how we got her to the Olympia 7 times.
Which makes it kind of exciting because
Yeah.
again, when you have to hang up your hat in one area, you then parlayed it into being a promoter and now a coach.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. You gained that knowledge and insight afterwards.
Yeah.
How so?
I think being around, continuing to study, being exposed to more and more great athletes, like yourself. We have conversations, whether I'm, drinking beers with Cormier at 3 a.m. or, hanging out with Danny or hanging out with you. I'm always getting knowledge, asking questions, still studying. And now I'm exposed to thousands of athletes a year, so you can't help but to gain that knowledge and then experimenting on her,
Yeah.
and then what's working for her and what's not. And every prep, it evolves just a little bit, even if it's one little thing, like we'll change that one meal to this, or, we want you a little full, a little less full, whatever it is.
So it's like, I have this, I'm always curious. I could never have a partner in my life that I would allow to be my coach. How is that
difficult,
working
yeah.
to have your partner coaching you, telling you what to do, what to eat? I would get crazy. Like
Everyone says don't do
no,
it.
she
It's-
doesn't
they say
don't do it.
She doesn't listen.
Oh, she does.
Oh no,
And you
no,
know
no.
that, and you're okay with it.
I'm like,
Oh,
here's
that's how it works.
here's the plan, and maybe we're lucky if we get 70%
Do what
of
you
it.
want with this
But
plan.
here's my suggestion, is kind of how it goes. And she'll fight me like for 2 years, and then like 2 years later, she's like, you were right the whole time. And then she starts, but it's it's about a 2-year turnaround. Tell them about the suit bottoms.
Oh, so I tend to pull my bottom way too high.
The straps.
Way too high. And he always telling me like, no, it's too much. You have then short torso and long legs and look out of the balance and blah, blah. But I never listened because I was addicted to that. Pull that bottom high. Until Sandy told me one time, I think after the
The
Arnold.
third time. So.
She told me many times. But first time was, I think, after the Arnold backstage. She's walking back to give athletes feedback. And she saw me and I asked, can I ask for feedback? She said like, my only feedback is just like, wear that suit, right? That's the only feedback.
She goes, Chris, you know what I'm going to say. I'm like, yeah. And she goes,
Tell her.
Tyler's at the table going, why the hell is their suit jacked up so high? And Sandy tells it, Tyler,
What's wrong with your body?
Chris is trying with her, but she won't listen.
She said like, Chris is trying really bad, but she won't listen. And she said like, the judges was kind of like, what's wrong with her body and proportions? She said like, nothing is wrong. It's just that suit that she needs to wear where it's supposed to be, not
Yeah.
too high. So I said,
Which, if you're listening, is very crucial for athletes out there. Where you wear your suit can change your whole physique, and people don't understand.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I start listening, and then Chris had to make sure that everything is perfect. So every time in the show, he's like, "I'm gluing your suit. Stand here." And then
And she's trying to still cheat it
I-
while I'm doing it. She's trying to like pull it up.
He's
I'm like pulling it down.
he don't let me to go to the restroom until the glue is dry. He's like, no, you're gonna stay here.
Like, I know what you're going to do.
Yes.
So as for the diets and plans, if you only follow 70%, do you tell him about the 30% you don't? Do you tell him what you didn't do?
Yeah, he knows very well. I don't eat enough.
Okay.
And first, I didn't realize that that's also cheating.
Yeah.
I keep telling him,
yeah.
I didn't eat anything what is
Yeah.
not on my plan. But he said, like, but you didn't eat what is on your plan.
Yeah.
So that's cheating as well.
That's a
eating
good-
less
That
the
is
same,
such a great point.
like eating more than you're supposed to. And I was sure that I'm okay because I didn't eat candy or peanut
Yeah.
butter. It was only my food, but not enough.
So what are you eating too little because you thought that if you eat less, then you're going to burn fat and you're going to
You
get in
know,
better
but
But you
shape.
have no
Rather-
fullness. So as a
Yeah.
trainer and a coach, you're like, you look great, but if you're under eating, you have no fullness, you have no pop.
No.
And maybe you're coming in leaner, but that's not the goal.
No.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you know, in Europe, competitors tend to be very lean and flat.
Extremely lean and
Yeah.
flat. I agree. Yes.
Yep.
There is no
so that's
fullness.
from coming from those days, you know. And it's hard for me, like I'm a smaller person, so for me putting more weight, it just feel uncomfortable.
Sure.
So I'm struggling with that still, but I'm better than ever because I put a lot of weight comparing to my beginnings.
Yeah.
When I started as a pro, I was probably 1 of 5 on stage.
Wow.
Yes. And now
And how tall
I
are
have
you?
20 pounds more on stage.
How tall are you?
5'2".
5'2". Wow. And you're now 20 pounds heavier.
Yes.
That's amazing because you look phenomenal. I mean, I've followed your
Oh,
career
yeah.
and
Thank
you
you.
always look great, but you do. Every year you have those improvements. And it's at this
Little
level,
bit.
it's small improvements,
small.
but you take the time in your off season, you build the physique, you work on the fine details, and you always show up looking amazing.
Thank
and
you.
maybe it is that your coaching is amazing, even if it's 70%.
70% of your
know.
coaching is
Yeah.
amazing.
100%.
I know her
100%.
breakfast is perfect.
Yeah, because he made breakfast every morning. So that meal is perfect. Everything
It tweaks.
else,
That's the one. That's my knob. It's the one I really have control of. So a little more eggs, a little more egg whites, a little less yolk, maybe a little avocado, maybe no avocado.
Yes.
It evolves. I'm like, at least this
But-
meal.
And
At least
you
this
eat
meal's
it.
good.
at least you know I didn't hit my potential. There's still room for improvements.
Yeah.
And that kind of makes me happy. And small wins, you know, like I'm
Sure.
struggling to do everything right just because that's also anorexic mindset. I struggle in my early, like, let's say like I was 15, 16, when I was
Okay.
struggling with anorexia
Okay.
problems. And it's still that mindset peaking sometimes, kind of
Yeah.
like, don't eat.
It creeps in.
Yes.
Yeah.
One thing I've told her about that, she's like, she says she doesn't want to put on weight. She doesn't want to add mass. And she compares herself to the other girls on stage who tend to be 20 to 30 pounds heavier than her.
They are 20 or 30 pounds. So let's say at the last 3 shows, that group, especially the Arnold and Boston Pro, Zenobia and Lola, 30 pounds, I think Lola, 27 pounds Lola, heavier than me, and Zenobia is around 20.
So what I wanted her
So
to,
that's a lot.
to change her mindset a little bit, it's not about adding overall body weight. It's actually just filling in a couple of places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For her, I want her to fill out her outer lats and I want her to fill in the hamstrings. It's not saying I want you to put on 20 pounds, just plop it on you.
Sure.
No,
Yes.
I want a couple of pounds in your hamstrings and a couple of pounds in your outer lats. 4 or 5 pounds would be a huge game
Yeah.
changer, especially on a physique
her frame.
that is only 5'2". So that's the goal for this year, is to fill in
And
those
I
couple of
watched-
spots.
I watched the episode with Sandy,
Oh, yes.
and she talked about her anorexia issues, and I totally can relate.
Yeah.
I relate with every word she said.
Just battling that.
Yes.
We've got lots more questions for you guys in regards to competing, what's ahead, promoting, what's ahead, but we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back with Chris and Bojana. And we're back with Chris and Bojana, and we have talked about some of your competing careers, and we want to definitely see what's ahead because you've already competed 3 times this year, correct?
Yes.
You're taking a break right now? Maybe?
He's gonna say yes. He's gonna say yes. But we just talk about like what we're gonna do until December.
Right, yeah. It's because that's a long break before Olympia.
Don't
but
worry,
you
we have,
gotta
10, we
enjoy
have 10
that.
shows.
Yes.
Okay, that's one reason why I feel like, okay, I'm gonna be busy.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be that bored. And I should use that time to
So what
recover.
is your
10
involvement
shows.
in this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's hear how does the dynamic work? You have 10 shows. That's a lot, and you're a big part of that. So give us kind of a general idea of how this relationship works in regards to business and promoting and the roles that you guys each play.
Well, yes, 10 shows, it's a ton of work. Fortunately, she puts up with me working 10, 12 hours a day, 6 or 7 days a week. So that's a huge amount of support she gives me. Sometimes I think I could be in a relationship with someone who's like, where were you? It's 6 o'clock. And
Oh, wow.
now it's still 10 o'clock. I'm at the office and the whole city's dark and I'm still there working. She makes my lunch, so I make the breakfast every day. She makes my lunch, and she has her own little desk at the office.
Yes.
And her main role is at the events. Actually, one of the things that's really happened a lot this year is the seminars, and so she's really the celebrity power at the seminars. So we did you were all there too. The NPC Women's Workshop.
Yeah, it was incredible.
Which was a ton of fun. Can't wait to do that again with
I
Sandy,
know.
That's
Oh,
a good
yes.
And then, when I put on a show, I'm always tracking numbers. So if a show the numbers need to come up, I kind of have all these little knobs I can turn. And we're new into New Mexico. And so we had this new show, and I wanted it to pick up more. And so 9 days out, I'm like, we're doing a seminar. And my celebrity power right here, she's promoting it with me. Within 9 days, we had 121 people registered for this seminar in New Mexico.
That's impressive.
And it's so awesome to hear the presentations. We have, of course, our coaches and our pros. And then you hear Bojana, the 7-time qualified Olympian, and you hear her stories, and she's like, yeah, and then I'm at the Arnold, and I turned around and looked at this lady, and I was like, she was and then just hearing these like,
Story from the last day.
I just love that one.
Something about posing.
She looked ridiculous on stage, but from the pictures, she looked amazing. And actually, I should do that in this.
I was talking
she
about
was
the
looking
power.
very good on stage.
You're getting good at it. Yes, you're nailing it.
Well, now we have a show in Kazakhstan. And his favorite accent is from the movie.
He's the Borat.
Kazakhstan.
Yes.
Yes.
What made you go there?
So,
as
you
a
know-
promoter, like it's so I've never heard of a single
Because of your
athlete from
obsession with
Kazakhstan.
Borat?
Because I love an
Do
adventure.
they have a fitness community?
They, you know, the IFBB International is there,
Yes.
but they don't have the NPC there.
Okay.
You know, I had been promoting shows in Russia prior to the conflict, and there was the owner of Invictus Gyms there saw an interview I did with Generation Iron Russia, and you know, as you can kind of tell, everything I do is really based in my ethics and core values. And he saw that, and he had experienced basically the opposite of everything with the IFBB Sentoha.
Yep.
And he's like, this is what I want for Kazakhstan. And I get these calls a lot from various countries, and I'm like, all right, yeah, whatever. And then he's like, and I will cover the sanction, and I'll cover the marketing and this and that. I'm like, I'm in.
Done.
And so we went and visited in December. It's not like you would think. You know, we all think of Borat, and Borat is actually probably more like Serbia or Romania.
I hear that they recorded Borat in Serbia and Romania.
Oh yeah, they shot it in Romania.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
really? Yeah.
Did they?
Okay.
So Kazakhstan is called, I mean, Astana, where we're doing the show, they're calling it like the new Dubai.
Oh,
And-
wow.
And it looks,
Really?
it is incredible, the infrastructure that is there, way more advanced than any city in the United States by far. The venue is going to be my best venue of all 10 shows, and my venues are pretty good, I think.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And so, yeah, that's what got me there. We actually went there. We went skiing in Almaty, and these guys took great care of us. We became great friends. Then we met up in at Ohio at the Arnold. We met with Tyler. We're setting up an official federation there under the NPC
Really?
that will be recognized by the government. So we'll have the same benefits that the IFBB Sentoha has as the NPC worldwide in Kazakhstan. So it's the beginning of what I see as a huge project and a huge growth there.
That's exciting though.
Yeah.
When is the show in Kazakhstan?
That's our last show of the year, December 3rd. It's a pro qualifier, and you know, one thing we do is all our overall winners get to compete there for free. I cover their hotel, and we pick one person to also receive a flight from all the center podium shows.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
How fun. So you're just growing internationally
Yeah.
and really helping to expand the community, which is what we need. I mean, obviously both of you guys in all the roles that you play, you have so much passion for it. So you're great leaders to do that. And then doing it together, I mean, could you imagine not having the support, and then vice versa? I mean, the support for your shows, the support for your shows, it's you guys do it well.
Yeah.
And like we were saying, as coach and athlete in a relationship, it's really rare that you see that it does work. But even though you joke around, you can tell that there is that appreciation, the gratitude, the respect. And I've seen it firsthand. You guys you're a great team backstage, and you look great on stage. So
Do you sometimes
working.
maybe when let's say when you know that she's competing and then you know your peak season, right? Let's say you have 2 or 3 shows in a month, for example. Do you somehow strategically plan the shows she competing around that because you're busy, or
Absolutely.
Yeah. So because you are involved in her shows, right? And you cannot be working
Yes.
7 days a week, 12 hours when she's 2 weeks out, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But we had a situation during the COVID with the Russia show.
Yeah, so we had a pro qualifier in Moscow in 2021. It was our rescheduled, so we're still pretty deep in the pandemic there. Had planned to put it on, and then somebody pulled some strings, got my visa blocked. I was getting a special entry, so we know what happened there. So this one run and put on the show for me in Moscow.
wow.
Yes.
really?
With my passport, I could enter the country.
She's Serbian.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah.
So nobody could enter the Russia from United States. So I had to fly to Serbia.
Yeah, there were a lot of
and
restrictions.
then flight from Serbia to Russia was okay if you're a Serbian citizen.
wow.
So I did all on my own, and I was prepping for the Pittsburgh Pro at that time. Pittsburgh is
Okay.
in May. This show was beginning of the April.
Something like that.
first
Yeah, yeah.
Still
weekend of
pretty
the
close.
April.
Wow.
Pretty close, yes. And then I originally wanted to do show on April 16. That was Massage Warrior last year, but he was kind of like, no, you're gonna be in Russia in a peak week. That's
Yeah.
not possible.
Yeah, it's
Right.
not possible.
So I was like, okay, let's do Pittsburgh. Let's
Yeah.
do Pittsburgh. So when show was over, actually he called me on Monday and kind of like, how do you look? And I was like, I have no idea. I did everything what I could do in that situation
Sure.
to be on point, but I didn't check my physique. I don't want to stress out about that.
Right.
He's like, okay, so I'll take some pictures, videos, send me. Let's see, maybe you can jump in and massage warrior. And I was like, okay. So
Like,
I took
really?
pictures. And he said, like, well, I think we can decide when you come back home. I was flying back home on Wednesday, and the show is Saturday. My flight was 40 hours because all stops and COVID situation and everything. After 40 hours, I arrived and checked my physique. He's like, I think we're gonna try.
I remember this story. That is insane. And you did well.
I won that show.
Yes.
That was her
And-
Olympia
Yes,
qualification.
yes. It
That's
was
how it was. That's
the
amazing.
crazy story, because even just keeping up on social media, I'm like, wait, how did you get from here to there on stage looking bomb? That's insane.
Moscow Monday, winning your Olympia qualifier on Saturday.
Yeah.
That's
It was
amazing.
wild.
It sounds like you guys are extremely involved in each other's life, in what you're doing. Like your business, you're very involved with with his business, and obviously you being the coach, you are very involved with her life. So everything is just harmoniously working together. There is no such a thing as I'm doing my thing and you're doing your thing. You're doing things together.
Yeah.
But from maybe from this perspective as well, what would you define as the successful element of your strong relationship? What's the key element in keeping you strong as a couple?
I think communication.
One thing about the Serbian culture, and you're going to appreciate this as well, is you guys are no bullshit. And
It is black or white.
Yes,
It's no
it is.
gray.
So
Yes.
There is
Yeah.
no gray area.
You don't have that filter that you got to put on with in some relationships. So we just say it.
Yeah.
And being able to just say it, and she'll get pissed at me. I mean, she sounds like she's pissed when she talks to her grandmother. So it's just the culture. I'm like, you telling your grandmother?
I didn't talk about me. How do you know me?
She's like, I'm just telling her I love her. I'm like, it's not what it sounded like. And it'll be funny because we'll have conversations and we're so direct. I remember this one time we're at a party. We're talking about we're talking about feminine power and agreeing with each other. And somebody comes, "Is everything okay with you guys? Is
I was
everything
thinking
okay?"
we were fighting.
Oh, you're kidding.
And he was so happy talking about beautiful things,
Wow.
And so we don't even realize from the outside it might sound like really harsh.
Yes.
But it's I'd say
So
that's
straight and direct communication, right? Coming from your background and the way we were raised in Eastern Europe, and that's a plus, right?
Yep, yep.
And then you reciprocate that, even if you're not Eastern European.
right.
Yes.
Right.
But your roots are pretty much European.
Yeah. My dad's born in Amsterdam. Came over in 1957. I definitely, obviously relate with Europeans very well. And I'm just no bullshit. You can't be when you work as hard as we do. I have 10
It's no time
shows
for that.
and I have a
Right.
team of
Yeah.
3.
No drama.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think that's a big part of it, and just being able to take that and being patient at the same time. Understanding like, okay, Chris is in peak week for his show, or Bojana's in peak week for her show,
Yeah.
which are both equally stressful.
Equally.
Absolutely.
And just
And we competed together 2 times.
Oh, you did?
Really?
Wings of Strength show, both.
No way.
Chicago
Oh.
Pro and Puerto Rico Pro.
Yeah.
This is
Wow,
amazing. So
that is
that
awesome.
starts from there. If you guys had patience for each other competing, then you have
Yeah.
patience for absolutely anything
Can
in this
tackle
world,
any challenge.
right?
It was rough at Puerto Rico. You remember? We had some arguments at the airport.
Oh yeah.
And then when we arrived there,
I forget those
because we was doing the night before kind of big load, like burger and fries and donuts, and after that meal everything was fine.
You're like,
yeah.
we were fed. We were happy.
Yes.
So that leads me to actually another question I had. When you guys fight, what do you fight about?
Oh, stupid shit.
Stupid things. Like, why you took cream from my
Why is
bathroom
it
and
like-
keep in your bathroom? That was the last one. And it was like, literally, I took his cream, I did, and I forgot to put back. And then I packed for the Arnold and I put in my bag and I bring with me. And then he saw that cream at the hotel room, kind of like, oh, how did it show up here? Oh, you steal my cream. And then, like, it was a big fight the
We
night
almost
before.
broke up over that.
Wow.
The night before the Arnold, and I was like, I'm done with this. I cannot right now handle this conversation. Let's talk about that tomorrow. Tomorrow,
You're like,
forget
I am
about that.
competing.
Yes,
That's
I'm
hilarious.
You're
competing.
worried about the cream.
She makes it. I was just really like, hey, just next time, just put it back. But
then
that
I
was like,
made a big thing from everything. And at the end, I was like, I'm done with this. Nobody talk about this cream.
What
After the burger, everything went
Yeah,
away,
everything was
right?
Just buy 2 of everything. That way you can avoid all those arguments. You have one as backup for yourself.
Yeah, so basically stupid things. Like.
So
nothing
Bojana,
bad.
if we were to summarize, what is your goal as a pro athlete? What do you want to achieve by the end of your career?
Well, we all have the same goal about the Olympia because that's kind of the Super Bowl, right? So placing good at that show. I almost achieved my goal at the Arnold. I always was in that top 5 at the Arnold stage, get to the 2nd place. If I can win one day, I would be very happy. But I feel like I almost achieved my goal at the Arnold, but Olympia is still,
Sure.
yes. So,
And you still got it in you. So what do you think your longevity is as an athlete? Do you have even an idea? Or you're just going to run until you maybe don't love it anymore?
yeah, I even don't want to think about it.
Yeah.
I want to keep myself motivated.
Sure.
So I'm not thinking about that. I'm not thinking is the end line there.
Good.
But,
That's fair.
and this is advice for every top athlete, is to do think about life after being an athlete.
Sure, yes.
There are too
Yes.
many athletes
That's great advice.
They win their last Olympia or whatever it is, and they don't have a next step. They don't have anything in place.
Yes.
And we talk about Jay Cutler as always having done a fantastic job of that.
Sure.
And there's others where like, whoa, dude, you've won the Olympia. How many times and you have no money?
Yeah.
You know, so you always you've got to build. You have to create your transition. And I know you're doing that. You're building a nice empire for
Sure,
yourself as
yeah.
well, because you're not going to be out there forever busting up those knees.
What do you mean? I mean, I could be 80 on the Olympia stage with a walker and creating some like tricks off that. You never know.
I know it.
You know, like
But you're right.
I know your story when you said like when you know that your knee is injured, you didn't want to know how bad it is.
Right. Yep.
This is how I don't want to think about the end of competing.
Sure.
I don't want
Yeah.
to know about that.
Right. And that's fair. I mean, but you're so right. If we're in this sport, we typically love it. We have so much passion for it. But there's so many opportunities, even if you're not stepping on stage, to
Absolutely.
get involved with promoting or participating with shows,
Yes.
judging, expediting.
Yeah.
There's so many different options that as an athlete, whether you're a newbie, you're, at the top of your pro career, you always want to think those next steps because
Yes.
we love it. We don't just want to be off the
Absolutely.
stage and be, oh my gosh, what do we do now, and feel lost.
Exactly.
And it's so important to leverage that transition or those opportunities while you're still relevant.
Yes.
Because the minute you stop competing, you're going to stop being relevant. And that's just the hard truth of the industry and the way the careers evolve. So yeah, think about it 2-3 years before you're done. Put that stuff in place, and then you'll have a landing pad.
Incredible.
One time you asked me what you gonna do after, and I said like I want to be Sandy.
Yeah, hey,
I want to be Sandy.
they always need judges, so that would actually be amazing.
I mean,
for
She is
you.
a judge.
I am
You'd
a
be
busy
great.
judge, and I judge some shows, and I really enjoying that part. And I hope when I retire from competing, just to
But that's
devote
incredible.
my time to judging. I
You'd be
really love
so amazing at that.
Absolutely, I think so too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, thank you, Bojana, as well as Chris, for sharing your story and helping expose to everyone all the different ways that you can be involved in this sport. Love it. And you guys as a power couple are just totally amazing. And
you.
seeing what you're going to accomplish in the next couple of years, as well as you, if you guys want to follow their journey, I would highly recommend it. But we have a ton to see from you guys, and we appreciate you coming on the show. That wraps another episode of FemFlex Friday. I'm Whitney Jones with Alina, and make sure to tune in next time.